Great. Let's get started. It's been a while. So, let's just get right into it. I'm on a march to build a legacy in entrepreneurship. I'm dropping out of my PhD in like 5 months now, and I've been offline for like the past 2 weeks. And the primary reason is to really build a solid foundation. And it's a lot of things that I think might be a bit boring for people, but for me, I see it as like critical. Uh, but yeah, the wait is now over. Like I can start finally planning on how I'm gonna make my money. Now, before I do, I'm just gonna give a brief recap of what I've done for the past 2 weeks, because I know some of you are actually interested in like following a similar process. So let's go right through it. So for the past 2 weeks, some of the things that I've been focusing on are primarily how do I maximize my productivity? How do I make sure that like all my files and all my information is secure and that I can maintain it? And so what that's looked like is literally organizing every single file in my life, from my taxes to, I don't know, scans of my driver's license to like random photos that I took like in 2007 when I was like 10 or however old I was. Point being, every single thing in my computer has like a certain place that it goes, and I know exactly where it goes. And this is just like an example. I have a SSD drive that I use to store some of my files. So that's primarily for like an archive or for library backups. And here you can see like every single file fits within a specific like bucket or category in my computer. And then the second part is I just completely overhauled the way I interact with the files on my computer. Every single file on my computer is in this root folder in my documents. Like there are no files anywhere else. There's no files in my desktop. There's no files in my downloads. Unless it's like an application specific file, these are all my files. And they're all tied to either administrative sort of logistical command center, an effort, which is essentially a project, or just some other daily planners, stuff like that. So everything has a place. And I am going to make a guide on this. I did upload it to GitHub, and I still need to update it a little bit more. But I will make a guide once I finish it. Let's see. Yeah, so set up every single project I've ever been interested. I've either put it in the someday maybe folder, which means I'm going to get to it someday maybe in the future. Maybe I won't. I eventually decide to delete it. And then everything else that is just critical at this moment is a project. And I tried to minimize the number of projects I'm taking on at the moment, so did that. Set up password manager, something I've always wanted to do, finally got one. Set up a backup plan. Again, all of this is covered in a vault that is on my GitHub, but I'll also make a video on it shortly once I finish that up. But yeah, other than that, just some other things that go on in my daily life, for example. And I think part of this isn't just it's a march to startup and just completely ignoring everything else. Like I want to make it a sustainable march, because I don't want to be in this march. For me, it's a marathon, really. Yeah, we don't want to be in this march 6 months deep and then realize, I too burnt out. My house is a mess. My marriage is in shambles. Like it needs to be sustainable. So for me, that also includes reorganizing my room, making sure it's a lot nicer for me and my wife. Also taking care of myself. So exercising almost every day, getting my steps up. Had to manage stuff with my PhD, adopted a dog, and updated skincare routine. So lots of things that I'm gonna share in some way or another. Other things are just things in my life that I've had to also take take on. But yeah, not dropping the ball. Completely productive the last 2 weeks. Could have been maybe a little bit more productive, but pretty good. So just looking ahead for a little bit, what I'm working on currently, I am sort of in between trying to organize the resources that are available to me to decide what is most important for me to learn. Like, there's a lot of things I don't know on entrepreneurship and how to start a startup. So there's some learning that's involved, and I just want to learn enough to get started and then make a plan to continue learning along the way. So there's organizing resources. I don't have a year, but also making a plan. And then in addition to that, organizing all the other projects in my life besides MarchToStartup. So there's a lot of things I'm doing in parallel right now. And then for the next 2 weeks, just finish setting up whatever system I have for privacy, security, and maintenance. So that's password managers, backup, what is it called? Backup stuff. And then let's see, update my Obsidian vaults. Yeah, so make it packageable so you guys can look at it, and then also make videos on it so that it makes it a little bit easier to go through. And after that, the things that, make the marathon sustainable. So there's updating my fitness plan, updating my nutrition, figuring out finances, because there's might be a point where I don't have a job and I'm not in my PhD. So seeing how much runway I have saved up. And yeah, so this is related to the fitness, nutrition, and then just this last point. I think, like, whatever I do, and if anyone else is sort of on a similar journey of how do you get your life together, it's if you have family and there's other people involved in your life, it's not just about getting your own life together, but it's also about helping the people around you that you care about get their life together too. And for me, that's first my wife, and then my mom, and then my sister. So yeah, just making it a point that if you're on if you're on a journey to improve yourself and other people around you care enough to improve their life, help them out. And yeah, so that's my intro stuff. So now we can just get into working, and I can recap what I've done so far. Just started going over it today. Let's see. So the first thing, there's lots of resources. Like, if you're new to entrepreneurship, a lot of the ins and outs can be a bit complicated. Like, how does Elon Musk even have an idea, get money for it when he first started? How does he go from having an idea to he has enough money to hire people to now his idea is worth billions? Like, what's that first, like, 20% that just few people have insight to or can successfully go through? And then the rest is, probably is its own challenge as well, but that 20% for me is what I just don't quite understand. And the way that I know best to approach that is what resources are available, what stories, what insights that people have had a peek into that life, what have they shared? And so that's in the form of books, in the form of courses, YouTube channels, podcasts, websites, and people. And books I still need to go through, but courses, here's some Udemy courses that seemed pretty good to start with. I'm not saying I'm going to cover all of them. Right now, this is just an initial list that I am going to review, go through all of them, maybe take a 10-minute skim and determine whether it's useful enough, or make a brief note on when it would be useful to me, if at all. So courses, bunch of YouTube channels on entrepreneurship, podcasts, some websites, for example, Reddit, or just regular blogs. And lastly, people. People in the sense of these are people that I maybe want to look for biographies, autobiographies, see if they have any recent interviews, documentaries, that sort of thing, to give me an insight into the way they approach entrepreneurship and how they get their inspiration, and also their discipline and their strategy to really have longevity. So these are all entrepreneurial resources that I've developed so far, I guess. Curated. Let's see. So yeah, YouTube channels was very thorough. Podcasts was very thorough. Websites, there's so many websites, so I'm just gonna leave it at this. And then people, I think maybe there's some. I can refine the list a little bit. But for now, these people are pretty solid. And courses, this is okay for now. Books is one I need to go through. I have lots of books, my bookshelf, that I don't even know where I would start. There's just so many books. So that I'm gonna leave to think about it a little bit. I don't want to dive into it too much. So I've made a list, and let's see how I should approach this, because this could be all over the place. And there is part of it is right now I'm in a brainstorming phase, and so I really just want to follow wherever my mind takes me and just write it down. Eventually I can sort of organize and piece together my thoughts. But right now I really just want to, everything that my brain thinks of can be potentially useful. So I just, wherever it takes me, I'm going to follow. I'm going to write it down. So let's see, we can go over what I started yesterday. This is a bit rough. I'm like not used to recording for 2 weeks. So let's get into it. Brainstorm plus free writing. So yesterday I was starting to think about how I can approach this. And there's really 2 approaches that I've seen so far. The first is that people break down their entrepreneurial journey into 2 approaches. Did I say that? No. Okay, we're on the first approach. People can break down their entrepreneurial journey into a series of steps or building blocks or businesses. And these businesses go from being like a small like tech idea that really anyone can do. You just need the right observation, the right opportunity. You exit, build a slightly larger business with larger opportunity, with more experience, more learning. You then exit from that one, and so on. So Elon had, I think, like a Zip2 or Zip something company, made a few million, went to PayPal, made a few million, used that for Tesla and SpaceX. I don't think he started Tesla, or he might have been a co-founder, but it was a building block for his later ventures. Now, the next approach is people have like one idea that they really just go all in on, and it just works out for them the first time. Maybe they had to do some iterations initially, but it worked out. And for me, my issue is I'm at the point where my brain is so fragmented from all these different, maybe I don't know why it's fragmented. I just know it's fragmented. Like if I try to think about this, I'm stuck on, I don't know what a good idea looks like. I don't have the intuition or the experience to know that I should execute on this and forego all other opportunities. So for me, I think the best approach for me is going to be the first one. Let's just start somewhere. Let's build something small that's going to, for example, first let me pay rent. Then after that is probably going to give me a few million. Then after that, give me tens, hundreds of million. And then after that, we're going to go aim for the billion. So that's probably going to be my approach. And so with that in mind, it gives me some freedom and some direction. So let's see. What did I think of yesterday? The next thing, there's going to be multiple thoughts from different... Yeah, so this is where I'm starting to sort of realize, write down all the fragments that my brain has and trying to make them all a cohesive picture. And for example, first one is, this is sort of like a long-term perspective. What sort of role models and people should I have as my inspiration? There's so many of them. How do I know who to look up to and sort of take knowledge from? And then also, is that even helpful? Like, should I just not look up to other people? Just, I don't know, follow my own journey? Which, it sounds, I'm making it sound too simple, but there's some nuance in there. And then the second observation is, I don't think it's very wise to focus on people that are either aim for the stars? Aim for the stars, or don't aim at all, because, oh man, I need a break. I'm gonna take a break. Let's see if I can get it right now. Been a long day. So what I was trying to say was that it's not wise to focus on approaches that are not big enough, because it's being lazy if you're relying on other people to basically tell you what opportunities are out there. If let's see, how do I say it? If basically your research is, one YouTuber told you he's making 100,000 with a dropshipping business, and that's enough to convince you to go into it without any other trade-offs between dropshipping versus any other opportunities that are out there, and not having it be curated, like actually doing the research, then that's you're already shooting yourself in the foot. Like, you're not even approaching it correctly. And I'm just saying that from my own perspective. Like, I'm not aiming it at anyone that I wanted to do drop shipping at some point because of how simple it seemed. Social media agency, yeah, these approaches, they're so dumbed down or packaged that it's not going to be helpful for you, probably. It's not an approach that interests me. I'm interested in technology and innovation, not just building apps that are flashy and make me money, but I actually want to make something that's useful to people. So that's one thing. That's one observation in myself on what approaches I want to take towards starting a business. And the second point is that existing idea, or the things that are packaged like dropshipping and social media agencies, they just seem like a dead end. Like, when we put in perspective of, I want to get to $1 billion, who has gotten to $1 billion just dropshipping? Like, I don't know. It seems like a dead end. And personally, it doesn't really get me closer to any of my other goals. Like, the purpose of this is to build compounding interest in my skills, whether that be technical skills, business, like leadership skills, skills in every single area. I just want to have compounding interest, developing them thoroughly, and then using that for my next approach. If I am focusing on marketing and dropshipping, that's best if I want to focus on an e-commerce business, but that's not what I want to do. Let's see. Yeah, so I want to innovate, learn technology, but also make money. And with everything on YouTube, it's always N of one. It's one person did one approach, worked for them. What about all the other people that tried it, didn't work for them, and all the money they spent on that? So I'm trying to pave my own path and not necessarily going to take anyone's word for what they're trying to sell. And the next thing that I started to think about is, how can I unfragment my mind? Let's see, what was I thinking here for fragmentation? Yeah, it's just all these different questions that pop up of how am I going to do this? And I want to think through it and actually do some research and understand what path I'm going to take. I don't want to be blind and just say I'm going to do action, and not actually think about where I want to end up in 10 years, in 5 years. So I really want to map down all these different thoughts that are going in my mind, think about things that I haven't thought about, and make a plan that sort of makes it all work out. And the plan probably will change, but at least in that planning, I have an understanding of how I can adjust in the moment and sort of have an idea of where it will take me in the future. So that's sort of where I left off. And what I need to think about is, let's see, what resources to use. How much is enough versus what do I plan to learn on in the future? Or do I want to approach it as, what's the problem people are having in the world, and just go from there? I don't need resources right now. Just look for problems and see how I can fix them. Or should I look for low-hanging fruit? For example, I know iOS app development a little bit. And I have ideas. I have ideas for issues that I personally have that I think I can just put out, see if other people are interested in those apps, and they download them. And then the other things that come into this, for example, how long do I have? Will I, for example, just have enough time to build apps and hope that enough people purchase it that I don't have to get a job? Or should I just first focus on freelancing because I only have 6 months? Build a portfolio and start making income through freelancing so that once I drop out, I can support myself in that way. And in parallel to that, also focus on my startups? Or should I even apply for like a low minimum job, like in some teams at Microsoft or probably Costco, they have some software development jobs that probably are like 30 to 40 hours, and then the rest 34 hours for like 100K in annual salary, which is pretty good. Pay off my loans, pay off the rent, and then the rest of my time just focus on building apps or whatever plan I decide. And yeah, so lots of different approaches to that. Yeah, so I guess let's just get started on this. But first, I'll take a food break, and then we'll go into planning. You're probably going to see me struggle for a bit to find my footing in this. It's like having to focus and think about where my brain wants to take me. But once I do, then I'll probably be writing a lot and make some progress. Okay, so let's see how we're gonna do this. I think what best thing we can do, I'll mute, just let the music run, share my screen, 10 minutes while I catch my flow. After that I can unmute and then just walk over what I'm doing and talk in real time. So let's do that. This is such a weird topic to try to think about in public, because it's like, I know I'm not. There's so many ways to approach this topic, and I have the best intentions, and so I'm just trying to. And this is actually how I would think about it. I'm just trying to, I don't know, guess make up my mind a little bit on the spot about this. Because on one hand, like, I understand having diverse perspectives, and I don't know if diversity is like having diverse perspectives, yeah. But then inclusivity, when it comes to working, like, what does that mean, inclusivity? Like, I'm open to having the best people, and now there is a lot of nuance in that, but it's not like I'm just gonna hire white people. Like, for me, it's such a weird topic, because I'm not like, for me, it's not like I only want white people on my team. Although I inherently feel like I account for diversity just because of my own background. I don't know. It's so complex. Yeah, it's such a, I don't even know. Like, I'm not trying to meet quotas. I want to have the best people. And the best people can come from anywhere. I don't know. It's such a weird topic, because, like, so pulling this back to something that I can relate to, I think people inherently think that that diversity and inclusivity is to prevent you from having just an all white team. Like, I think that's mainly like 90% of what comes to people's minds. And or to also prevent just from the majority just considering the majority and completely marginalizing everybody else. But when, like, if you actually put into perspective and look at like top companies like Nvidia, they hire the best, and the best comes from everywhere. There's white people, there's Indians, there's Africans, Asians. I don't know if there was too many Asian. There was some Asians. So yeah, there's comes from everywhere. I don't know. It's such a. Why do we make such a big deal about it? Well, I understand why we do, but why is it? I don't know. I'm not gonna talk about it in general. There's so many circumstances and situations. I don't know. Let's just keep this professional. So let's see. How should I approach this? I don't know if I would say I prioritize because although it is important, recognize the drive. Let's see if ChatGPT can help me come out of this hole I've dug myself into. Has more experience. There we go. I like that one. That is such a better way to say it. Okay, so this is principles. Think. Well, I don't want to say his name in vain, but think ChatGPT, because the outcome could have been so much worse. Let's see. And then ethical. I commit to pursuing. Yeah, so in the face of uncertainty, I conduct. Pursuing. Yeah, actually, these. This, so ethical innovation, I commit to pursuing innovation responsibly, ensuring that my ventures do not only push the boundaries, but also adhere to the highest ethical standards. This involves there we go. And while recognizing the value of diverse perspectives, I believe in assembling a team based on merit, drive, discipline, and passion. Is centered on identifying individuals who demonstrate a strong work ethic, a commitment to excellence, and the ability to contribute uniquely and effectively to our goals. Did I consider? There we go. Solid. Communication. I like the transparency one. Impact over profit, continuous learning. Solid. Now, outcome envisioning. Or visioning. Hmm. I like this statement. Inclusive, yeah. Yeah, and I think actually there's something to be said about being inclusive, because the future is for all of us. And so in that sense, we need to be inclusive. So in that sense as well, the team needs to be inclusive. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like the core team that immediately works on it, and yeah, there's more thought that I need to put into this, but I know like there's right now I have like fragmented bits here and there, and I'm only sort of sharing certain perspectives here, but I understand that like if the future needs to be inclusive, because it's, yeah, we just don't want to leave people out, and in order for it to be inclusive we need to understand the perspective, so then we need people of their perspective working on it. So how that fits into the broader picture, something that I'll need to think about. Let's see. Yeah, but I think yeah, I think that's that's one of the reasons why ethical innovation is at the highest, because it's always just being thoughtful and having standards. So let's see. I'll leave that for now. There's more changes to be made in the future, but now I sort of have like a good idea of what this means to me and why I'm on it. I'm on this journey, and now brainstorm. Great. Yeah, so let's see. There's 2 more hours in the day. I could do this brainstorm. Budget and resources. Yeah, I can probably do budget and resources. Actually, let's not get out right now. So resources, what do we have? We have Mac, what is it called? MacBook Pro. We have iPhone. Just got an Apple Watch for a few apps I want to work on. Apple Watch. And we have a Windows computer. Should I even do this? There's like not even that many resources I have. Yeah, this kind of seems unnecessary if I'm just the only one working on it. So I'll actually cut this out. Budget details. So I'll actually cut this out. Yeah. No, actually, okay, let's do come back to once I have started to make some progress in building something, freelancing, working a job, etc. So once money starts coming in, then we need to think about it a little bit more. And I do have a plan to like map out my finances of what I'm currently making and my run rate, but for now, that's not really like, that's not part of March to Startup. To me, come back to me. Huh. So brainstorming. I started brainstorming yesterday. Yeah, so these are the general path I have. And I need to break these down into milestones. Brainstorm. Yeah, so let's brainstorm first. So continuing off of my initial brainstorm. Oh, actually, let me do this over here. Okay, so let me try to tap back into what I was thinking about. So, brainstorm. Let's see. We have. We want to break a project down into multiple steps, or break this journey down into multiple steps, which is multiple businesses, each bigger than the last. So that's clear. So that's the approach. And then, so summarized insights. So that's the approach. And then for each, okay, so let's go into this, down this road. This is the approach. Since I will build multiple startups, I yeah, so this is now where we can see that where the research is required. And then once this is sort of clear, then it becomes easier to do one after the other. Let's see. So we have multiple businesses, each bigger than the last. And each is basically going to follow the same process. So let's start to sort of build it out. How do we LLC? Let's do for this. I don't know if this is called incorporation because I don't think incorporation includes LLCs and LTDs. S core. Any others? So incorporating once. When does this happen? At what stage? So that's something I need to research and searching for an idea, or let's see, ideation maybe. Customer discovery. And so here we're gonna try to get the process. I've been through this before, I just need to go back and write it out. So we're looking for an idea that can make us money. This is going to involve talking to customers, seeing what's most likely to work out. Then at some point we make it an actual business, LLC, LTD S Corp, and I don't know if this is in between or after incorporating is the product building. And so here there's going to be different approaches for software, hardware, consumer goods. Let's see, so product building. It could be product type. No. And then you can also have so there's gonna be product building. Maybe not product building, but like value and business model. So it can be product type and then approach, B to C, B to B. Is this approach? And then the actual approach would be maybe business model. So there's going to be advertising, licensing. Oh, I need to go over this. There's a perfect diagram for this. So you have an idea, talk to customers, start to product development. So each of these software is going to be completely different than hardware, which is going to be completely different than consumer goods, which is going to be completely different than what else? And then in all of these, you can completely differ your approach. You can either be selling directly to customers, or you can be selling to businesses. You're selling software like apps to people, or you're selling software to like institutions. For example, hospitals have what's a good one? The EMRs, and that has apps as well as websites. And then there's business models. So this could be advertising, how you're making the money. So are you advertising on whatever you're making? Are you licensing it? Are you selling? I need to make these clearer, but right now we're just going for a rough idea. Subscription. yeah, let's do what else. And at some point in this process, you're going to incorporate or make it official, I guess. I don't know what the name is for that. And with this, you need to consider, let's see, we're actually fundraising. And then what I was originally thinking about was, I think to some extent, you need to be knowledgeable about fundraising and how much equity you have as people come in, and the different approaches that people can come in through. Do they expect equity? Do they want revenue or royalties? Fundraising, let's see. So, what can we say? Fun or, so I don't know the word for this, but like providers, there's angel, venture capital, grants. I'll just say what else, just to make it quick. I understand the idea. So people that provide the funds, then there's going to be, what's like a good word? What's being exchanged? So are they taking royalties, stock, equity? What else? And another question here is, we're actually here. Be knowledgeable in how this impacts you. Need long. For example, is it possible I am getting stock that what's the word? Diluted. Facebook example where a founder was diluted out. Yeah, so just being knowledgeable, making sure that no funky stuff happens. So there's fundraising, providers, are they, what do they want, how to, and interact with them, that sort of thing. What's being exchanged when you are interacting with them, and then after this is scaling. Yeah. Read startup owners. And now that I mentioned this, almost all of this is covered by Steve Blank through his lectures and his book. He has lectures on his book, and I think he covers all of this. And he has lists. So this is actually, I know to read his book. yeah, that's a solid, very solid place to start. So what does that, now where does that leave me? So I know this, so I know I need to continue that. And then what are the other thoughts? I think I might pause this video because oftentimes I just need to like stare at my ceiling and think about whatever comes to my mind. I don't know if you're one of the people that actually watch to get all the details and really get a perspective into my thought process. Let me know if you just prefer like a 5 hour long video of me actually thinking about every little thing and all the time it takes, or if you just prefer the summarization. But for now, I'll pause it to keep it concise. Okay, so it's been like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I think something that comes to mind is like, there's just, maybe it didn't come to mind as clear as I thought it did. Let's see. Maybe writing it out is like quicker for me. So my thought is, let's see, we have 5 months until dropout. In those 5 months, I'm gonna make about let's write it out. About, let's see, after rent, I'm probably gonna have about 1,400. Let's say 300. So there's gonna be times 5, which is 6,500. Rent on a monthly basis for me is, okay, actually, so saved up, and then I already have 6K in stock that I'm selling. So I'm gonna have 12,500 in June for rent. Rent currently is like 2,000, let's say 2,500 minus what my wife pays, 750, which means I pay so we have 2,500 minus 750, 1,700. 1,750. Let me take a break. Okay. So each month after rent, I'm gonna have 750 that I have to pay. So based on what I have, that's gonna be divided by 7 months from June. This is 7 months of rent. So the thing is, it's actually going to be closer to like 6 months because of loans and stuff like that. and food. Let's say this is so this isn't considering moving out. This isn't considering that my wife is graduating and will work full time. So let's do worst case. Worst case, 6 months of runway after I drop out. So that's going to be, we have, how do we put this into perspective? So this is going to be, 12 months of building time. Yeah, 5 months until I drop out. So this is going to be June. 12 months of building time. So from, no, not 12, 11. So that's going to be June, July, August, September, October, November. Until November. And so my thing is, I don't want to be in a position where it's November, I have ideas that I want to work on, but I can't because I don't have money. And yeah. So for me, I think the ideal best setup for myself, setting up my path, is either freelancing or industry. Low weekly, somewhere with low weekly hours. Now, freelancing has the advantages that I can learn and build on skills while getting paid for it. Now, the disadvantages might not work out or might not be stable, may not make enough, may take up too much time. So there's trade-offs. Freelancing, I have complete autonomy. I can devote however much time I want to it. I can learn whatever I want and then freelance in those areas that I want to develop myself. But the disadvantages is that it's not stable. I might not make enough money, and it might take up too much time to market myself. Having to make proposals, having to reach out to people, trying to network. Yeah, so it might take up too much time. Like it's basically going to be more than a full-time job for billable hours. While in industry, the advantage is that stable income, probably going to be like 100K per year. And I know I can find places where work week is 30 to 40. So it's minimal commitment, still making pretty good money. And then I can work after work. However, it's limited autonomy. Don't time spent just quote unquote making money. So my perspective, at least right now, is working in industry is gonna So for me, either I feel like I'm either working, if it's a job that requires a lot of time, it's probably because you're going to be working somewhere important. And so for me, that would be like working at on the edge, where you're an expert working on the edge like NVIDIA. However, if you're working low weekly hours, your impact may not be as much. And so your time is probably more so spent uh, making money. You're either debugging or you're doing something that, although is valuable enough, it's not gonna advance your career. So I'm not necessarily learning skills. I'm just sort of making money. So they both have trade-offs. Industries is attractive. Oh, and the other thing is ramp up for interviews. So it's been a while since I've interviewed, since it's going to be in software, which I'm more electrical engineering, but I have coding in ML, AI. It would take me some time to ramp up for interviews. So let's see. I think like a good plan would be, oh, this just makes it so much more difficult. Yeah. So plan could have been, or I'm not close to it, freelancing for the next. So the ideal plan would be I get to freelance for a long enough time that I get to see whether it's a viable pathway. But the issue is the next 4 months I'm still in my PhD, probably going to be TAing, and but even, yeah, probably going to be TAing. So it's basically going to take away a lot of time to try to freelance. Okay, so let me just say it completely. Freelancing, ideally I'd want like 5 to 6 months to really see if that's a viable pathway for me to sustain myself before deciding to go into industry. Now the issue is the next 5 months I'm still in my PhD, I'm going to be TAing, going to be doing research, and I'm still trying to work on ideas for a startup. So that's like multiple projects. That's TAing, 20 hours maximum. Research is around 20 hours. MarchToStartup, I'm trying to do this consistently, at least an hour a day. Also going to be freelancing, and then also have to take care of myself, spend time with my wife, walk the dog. That's unsustainable. So let's write that down. Ideal path. For next, let's say 5 to 6 months. Get a feel for if it is possible. So I'm going to freelance for the next 5 to 6 months and get a feel if it's possible to sustain myself in this way. Now, if so, continue and march to startup. If not, prepare for industry for, let's say, 3 weeks. Let's see. Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. Because ideally, if I'm building a portfolio for freelancing, that would be the same portfolio I use for industry. So I would just need to prepare for more coding type questions. So maybe 2 to 3 weeks is generous. In low requirement job. So industry is great because stable income, yeah. I make capital. Maybe let's say 1 year pays off loans, rent. Second year, just saving everything. So I'll have like 60K, 70K. That's enough to sustain rent for 3 to 4 years. Yeah. So that's the ideal path. But this unlikely to be a good because might have to set more boundaries for my PhD because I will be conducting research as a PhD student, which means 10 ideally 30 hours. So that's where I'm gonna have to set boundaries. If I'm taking 10 credits, 3 hours of credit, 30 hours a week. So let's actually put like 20 to 30. And conducting research, TAing, which is like, let's say 10 to 15. This takes up like an hour a day, so 7. Or maybe not quite 7. Let's do like 5 hours. Exercising takes 7 hours a week. Wait, we still should have plenty of time in the week. Maybe I just need to focus better. Hours a week. So there's going to be so there's 7 days a week times 24 hours. 168. Not that many. So let's see 168. Okay. And then sleep. Sleep is a big one. 8 hours a day times 756. So we have, let's say, 40 for academia, 12 for obligations, 56 is 108. So far, and let's say spend time with my wife. Let's put it comparable to walking my dog, our dog. That's so bad. So bad. Hours a week. we have currently using up 108 hours a week. That means we have, no, 113. Have, what's 168? 55 hours a week left. That's okay, but that's not a lot. Because realistically, we need breaks, we need showers, we need food. So realistically, we're gonna have like 40 left, which is enough for another job. Which is like freelancing. Freelancing 20. MarchToStartup 20. Something's got to give. Okay. So I think what this means that I will do, so where to ASAP. I ideally, prepare to freelance ASAP. So this would be like build portfolio by March. A week in January, February, March, April. Am I making anywhere close? Let's see what's good. What's a good rate? So let's say 30. $30 is cheap. 30 times 20 a week times 4 weeks, 2,400. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Oh, tax is gonna eat that away though. Taxes would be like 30%. We'll worry about taxes next year. That's so bad. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. That's a solid start. Am I making over 2K a month? Let's just set the bar even lower. If I am, we're on a path to something that's sustainable. If so, close to sustainable. If not, try ramping up, or not try, ramp up hours. Ramp up to 30 hours a week. Am I sustainable by March, April, May? No. Yeah, so by the end, prepare to industry, if not. So if it just doesn't seem like a viable path, the market's not good for whatever reason, then we're entering industry, working on MarchToStartup, whatever extra time I have left. And that's the thing that I don't like about PhDs. The work week is like 40 hours a week minimum, and you're only making like 40K. Like, it's barely enough. So you're kind of stuck working a PhD. Yeah, it's kind of like a bit of a trap. While you could be working 40 hours, making 100, 200K, much better life. So, initial plan, prepare to freelance, enter industry. Okay, and then what else was in mind? And then in this time, yeah, just one really March. Or actually, let's not say MarchToStartup, because MarchToStartup is all of this. But, let's just say our startup. So how do we start up? What are we doing to start up? So I think a very solid idea would be, let's put this here and startup. Let's see. Review, let's say books. Okay. So, okay. No. Books, I don't know any books yet. So review courses, YouTube channels, podcasts, and people. And what I'm going to be looking for is who is most applicable now versus later. So what's most relevant to me now and useful to me now? If it's like stuff on how to be a great leader, that's going to be useful, but not necessarily right now. What I need now is to be sustainable and ensure I can make this a marathon that I can run and not just gas out at the start. So, what is applicable now versus later? So process would be like review for 10 to 20 minutes. What is it about? What is it about? Answer. What is it about? What is must? What is most applicable now versus later? What is it about? Yeah. Prioritize most important. And for example, I know for a fact that not everything on these websites is, or on these resources is going to be most applicable. Like Y Combinator, lots of useful information, but probably their most important stuff for me is going to be like things that talk about how to start up, maybe talking about incubators or accelerators. Maybe that's an alternative that I have not considered. Yeah, actually. Questions. Let's write that in. Questions. Are accelerators or path? I think that could pay for it. Fund it a little bit, give me some runway. But then I would have to really put some effort into what I'm working on. Like not necessarily put some effort, but like it would require more research, which would be, we'll see. I need to look into it, make up my mind. So review courses, yeah, and then organize files and links I have. Be quick. What is relevant now versus later? Categorize. I don't want to spend too much on this, but I have over like thousands of links, YouTube videos, articles that I want to review at some point. Not going to be feasible for me to review everything. Probably at most like 100 in the next like couple months, but even that's too much. So it's probably going to have to narrow it down just to like 20 that are most important. And then categorize everything else just to make it useful for the future. Same thing for files. Have hundreds of files. Not everything's going to be most important right now. A lot of it is redundant if I'm reading Steve Blank's book. So I need to organize, review, and what else? So my initial plan is I'm going to freelance. Worst case, prepare for industry, prepare for an interview. Now on the startup end, I want to review courses, YouTube channels, review them just for 20 minutes, decide what's most important. And so at this point, most important. So starting a project is essentially just starting one of these, but making it more devoted to freelancing so I can really think about it and have it compartmentalized. I don't know if that's the right word, but like basically making it its own separate individual project, but still part of MarchToStartup. Yeah, so I'm going to be freelancing and going to start up or prepare to start up. So decide what's the most important. And then from there, I will have decided what's most important. So what do I do? Because it almost feels like I'm putting off building. But I'm not actually putting it off because I'm going to be building for my freelancing. Okay, so let's actually write this down. Build portfolio by March. Have initial projects be startups. So let's make this come full circle. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but have initial projects be startups. This is going to be like a rough idea of a startup. Not actually startups. This is basically going to be apps that I'm offering. But they're going to be full-fledged apps, fully integrated, usable, published on the App Store. And so because of this, I also need to... Okay. Got it. So I need to actually make a very fast decision on LLC, TD versus incorporation. Start this now. And I almost get the sense that I'm also going to have to learn how to do web development. But I don't want to do web development right now. If I'm still need to improve my iOS skills. So actually maybe not web development. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break actually. I'm just going to sit here and think about, or let my mind just wander and see if I think of like something else. Okay, so having a little break did not get me anywhere, but it did tell me to think about, is this today? Yeah, I should close that. It did tell me to think about just summarizing everything. Like, this is a big decision and there's no way it's just intuitively gonna come to me. It's probably just gonna be through more thought and analysis and then insight. So let's see, I filled out chapter 1. Update action plan. So the next one is actually, where is that? I'm gonna stop, or I'm gonna pause it for a sec. Okay, so we just did the brainstorm. Brainstorm actually needs to come before making a timeline and milestones. And update, clarify. Yeah, so I would say that's the same thing as this. So now that we have our brainstorm, need to update the timeline and milestones. So currently timeline says need to finish that, which we do need to finish. And I need to figure out finances and my health. In addition to all of this. Great. How will I get 5K? yeah, so I think it's all coming together. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this offline. Basically, I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT, how can I sort of merge all of this and update this timeline, and then have all of the let's see, yeah, and update this timeline. Period. Stop. There's nothing else to say there. Yeah, and then just be clear on the next actionable insights. So I think I'll probably share that tomorrow. It's just when I think about these things in a lot of detail, it maybe stressful is not the right word, but I'm just kind of, I get kind of, I don't know, weird personality on camera. Uh, let's see. Or not weird personality on camera, but like, for me, I'm just being myself, and I don't want to make myself into a character or anything like that. Yeah, I can't think anymore. It's 11. Usually sleep at, 11, 12. So I think that's where I'll leave today's work on camera. Maybe I do some work off camera. But I'll definitely start working on this every day, at least an hour. Continue recording myself. Wasn't a lot of energy to come back to March to startup. Was a long day, but I'd prefer to just be consistent over time, as opposed to, I feel like I have to come with high energy every single day and have it be something that it's not in real life. That's not realistic. Yeah. So I made solid progress. Feel a little bit better about the future, what the future holds, now that I've thought about it a little bit more. Yeah. Not sure where else to take today. See you tomorrow.